Hi everyone, welcome to Coach's Corner. We begin our first show of 2015 talking about our fine high school wrestling program. Our wrestlers off to a good start this year, dual-wise anyway. They've had some competition in tournaments, some tough competition, had a dual canceled this past weekend, and now we get set to wrestle this week and get on with the next portion of our schedule. Coach Leavitt's with us today, and Coach, I mentioned that so far, at least dual-wise, your team has a good record. Your thoughts on your team as a dual squad?
I think we lost a duel against Ponca that I don't think we should have lost. I think our kids wrestled flat and didn't open up and compete like they should have. You know, we had a couple matches we were winning and getting ready to get bonus points and found a way to, give up those bonus and just get a regular decision, so that hurts us.
Isn't that maybe the one part of young wrestlers that is the most difficult for coaches, is that, when you're winning and you've got 3 points secured, trying to make sure they don't make mistakes to give up 3 or 6. And I found that maybe over the last few years, that's the one part of it that maybe is frustrating, that you can't control as much as you'd like.
No, it's hard on you over on the bench. That is, you've talked about it to the kids, and you're living in the match right there with them, and it's just as hard on us as it is the kid, and you want them to keep active and not make those little mistakes that can cost them, because and yes, there's some additional pressure there, but I think with these young guys, if they just come out and open up and wrestle with nothing to lose, then they're going to win a lot. They're going to be real successful.
And one of the parts of that process is that some of your early matches, you blew out your opponents. Yeah. They weren't tight. Even if a guy lost, maybe there wasn't so much emphasis put there. But now we talk about, you mentioned Sapulpa, so that's a good example. Muskogee, yeah. Sand Springs, all these teams, including Ponca City, you're all pretty equal, so 1 or 2 matches are going to decide who wins the duel.
Yeah, absolutely. And in my mind, I put the standard way up there, and I just want to see these kids just keep challenging themselves to see that huge gain and huge improvement to where we're knocking on everybody's doorstep, and they hate wrestling Ponca City. I mean, and that's the image I want people to take on, and not hate to wrestle us because we're the bad guy or something like that, but that we go out there and they know we're going to get in their face for 6 minutes, and there's not going to be any time to say, look, I'm going to ease off a little bit. I want constant pressure on every one of the opponents we wrestle, and kids today, they can't handle that. Our opponents can't handle that. If you're constantly on them and battling with them, it's a different ball game.
At some point, they'll wilt down, won't they?
They will. They'll break.
I think one of the interesting things that we've seen, we talk about your dual record, which is good, but you've taken your team to 2 tournaments that, quite honestly, you could take some of the best teams in the state or this part of the country, and they would take their lumps. You went to Kansas City, you went to the Perry tournament. Those 2 tournaments right there, they'll test a team, won't they, Coach?
They certainly will. And the good thing is there's been improvement from Perry tournament last year, where we get 6 guys at quarterfinals this year. Last year, I don't even think we got a guy out of the first round with a win. We're looking at some improvement there. Going to the Perry tournament or to the Kansas City tournament, we're competitive for 6 minutes with people, we probably wouldn't have been last year, just because the kids are putting in extra work and extra time, and it's a slow process, but it's definitely a process that the kids are going to benefit from, because most of our team is made up of a lot of young guys.
Yeah. Well, they haven't seen kids like that Kansas City. I've seen that tournament. Yeah. That tournament, I was talking on the radio the other day, and I said, Reno I still think was the top tournament, but that Kansas City tournament features some of the best high school wrestling, not only in this portion of the country, but east and west and north and south.
Right.
You can't imagine how difficult that is, especially when you have kids that are just at the point of breaking through, and then all of a sudden they come up against 2 and 3-time defending state champions. And I guess not only is it a physical, but it's a mental issue with coaches to try to make sure the kids can survive that.
Yes, it's definitely a challenge, but I think with our kids, they don't know anything different. I mean, they know that everywhere we're going to go is going to be tough. It doesn't matter whether it's Perry, Sand Springs tournament, Kansas City. They know what kind of schedule we wrestle because the expectations are high here for our wrestling program. And I think if you get in there and you take them to some smaller tournaments that the competition's not there, I think they lose that competitive edge to the reality of where we need to be at a 6A level. And you know, it's just it's growing pains, and you know, once these kids break through that, I mean, we'll be pretty tough to beat.
Once you go to a tournament like that Kansas City tournament, which Coach took his team right before the break, you can honestly come back and you can look those kids in the eyes. You can tell them that the regional and the state tournament are no more difficult than what they just went through.
Oh yeah, I tell them that all the time. You know, and I'm proud of our kids. They're fighters. They've gone through every test we put them through. You know, and I support them and really care about them. And you know, it's just about looking at things throughout the course of the season as practice, not something that you need to get knocked off your pedestal and then stay in the dumps. It's something that they need to just take with a grain of salt and keep getting better. You know, right now, nobody remembers this point right now. All that they remember is, did you get to that state tournament and did you go make some noise at it? You know, and you know, we may have some guys surprise you. You never know if they have a good head.
The thing about wrestling is nobody wins anything in December. You do the best you can, but there's a point now. We're about 7 weeks away from regionals in state.
Yeah.
In January, there's a point now where don't you feel like you have to start building that momentum? Up to this point, maybe you've said, you know, I don't want to get them there just yet, but isn't there a point now in the next couple of weeks where you say we've got to really start building toward not only our team but get every individual kind of mentally and physically ready?
Absolutely. It's push them to that edge, bring them back, push them to that edge, and just keep testing them and seeing where they're at, and seeing how far you can take them, and then when it's time for regionals, you know, we need to be competing at a high level, you know, a level that we shouldn't be competing at, but we're doing the right things. You know, it's not out of the question because, you know, you get to that regional tournament, a lot of kids in the state look too much at the paperwork and say, well, this guy's a qualifier or a state placer, and then, you know, they lock up, and, you know, we might be those guys that go out there and beat them because they're not focused and ready to go. You know, hopefully our kids will be prepared for it.
Absolutely. Now, when you talk about your team on a weight-to-weight basis, are you still looking for those right people? Is there still that competition, or are you narrowing and really solidifying your lineup for the last month and a half of the season?
I think we're starting to get to that point because I think our kids are starting to see that we don't have anybody that really cuts any weight. It goes hand in hand. I mean, you know, if you think that you can walk out there on the mat at your natural weight, you're going to have somebody cutting 25 pounds, and you may not think they're bigger than you or stronger. You know, you may feel a little bit better because you've been eating, but that guy's coming down. He's hungry not only for food, but he's hungry for winning because he had to get his weight off. You know, so we've got to get guys the right weight. You know, and so we can compete, and in those tight matches, we'll have that extra, you know, strength to win a 1-0 match.
And you can't do that right before regionals. You can't 3 weeks away from regionals say, okay, we're all going to drop a weight.
Yeah.
You've got to get that under control, and right now is the time to get it under control.
Absolutely. January 15th is the last time that they can get to that lowest weight. And every one of our kids on our weight loss plans that we have to do, they're all weight above where, you know, it says that they can go. So, I think it'll help them on the competitive side of it, and walk out on that mat with no doubt that they're putting everything into it.
Coach, we have a big road match this week, don't we?
Yes.
Traveling over to Sand Springs, so that's a big match. Kind of talk about, if you could, the next couple of weeks of wrestling.
Sand Springs, we'll have Booker T before we wrestle Sand Springs, and with Sand Springs, they have some outstanding wrestlers, but I always look at things that anybody can be beat. You never know. We may have a kid go out there and throw somebody to their back and get a fall. I mean, if you wrestle with like you have a shot to win, you never know. That may be that one match that changes the course of your whole career. Let's say you get a win over one of their top wrestlers, that may change where our kid's going to go, definitely on seeding. But, they came in here and beat us 66-0 last year, and I still haven't let that go.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, we better go out and compete.
And, you mentioned that desire. Sometimes a guy doesn't have to win a match
Mm-hmm.
to really improve himself. I've seen many a times where a seeding meeting determined whether or not a guy got to the state tournament, and it may be a loss that these coaches look back at and they go, I don't want to face that kid again.
Yeah.
So every time they go out there, even if they don't win a match, they're still leaving a lasting impression on somebody, aren't they?
Absolutely. They know who's tough out there, and coaches, you can get that at large vote from other coaches in that regional, and you may win a couple of them.
Absolutely. And I don't want to put it too far ahead, but a week from Thursday we have Stillwater coming in here, and obviously the number one team, and rightfully so. They've got a lot of great wrestlers, but there again is another one of those matches where you're going to be watching your young Lions and how they go out there and how they compete. Mm-hmm. And again, it may not be about winning every match, but it certainly will be about how they go out and represent themselves in their school too.
Oh, absolutely. I think there's a lot of matches in that duel that we can win. They've got some phenomenal athletes on that team, and but it's just like any program. You have your ups and downs. They're having an up right now, and so good things can happen, and years to come, things like that. But
and it's on our home mat too, Coach.
It's on our mat. Yeah. We're going to go out and battle with them.
Absolutely. Did everything go okay with the family over the holidays? You guys good right now?
Oh yeah, we're great.
It's a big family. I would imagine
Absolutely.
Christmas at Mom and Dad Levitt's was pretty fun this year.
It was good. It was really good. I know, going over there and just wondering what kind of tool I'm going to get this year.
Was that the standard every year?
Standard every year.
What was it?
Well, I got a sander and a saw. So,
okay.
For my brothers, always get them a hat. They know what hat am I getting this year.
Good little tradition there, don't you?
That's tradition.
Well, then after the wrestling season, we know you'll be doing some things in the garage. So,
absolutely. And freestyle time, and that's where our kids make these major gains. And it is in that freestyle time of the year.
It's not 12 months. I mean, it's not 6 months. It's 12 months, isn't it?
No, yeah, it's 12 months, and I'll put in the time. You don't ever have to worry about that. It's just a matter of ensuring that these kids will be there. Put in that extra time. Be patient with their wrestling career, and then whenever it's time for it to pay off, it'll pay off big.
Absolutely. And if you're a former wrestler out there, come back and enjoy the matches. And I know that Coach has said to me many times, open door policy, you love to see those. And I see a lot of wrestlers coming back, don't you?
I do. And it's, to be honest with you, that's what it is. For us, it's a huge family. We may not like each other all the time, but we still care about each other, and may not agree on everything, but we're still there for each other. And you see them all over town, and it's time to get them all going again. I mean, we need all the support we can get.
I saw some over the New Year's holiday, and it was good to see those guys. I call them kids, and they're all like you. They're getting a little older yet, but they're always welcome. Good to see you, Coach. Coach Leavitt with us as we talk Ponca City Wildcat Wrestling on Coach's Corner.